We ask people to come here to meet us.
That's very dedicated of you. Can you hear me without the microphone, or do I need the microphone?
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Fine? Yeah? Okay. Tell me if it's not, because I don't like the microphone. Anyways, thank you guys for welcoming me, and thank you everybody for welcoming me. It's a kind of long tour of this part of Asia that I've been in Hong Kong and Shenzhen and then here, and this is a perfect place to end the tour, and amazing to see this community space. I gave a talk this morning to a bunch of sort of young entrepreneurs, very different, well, not very different in the entrepreneurness, this is a very entrepreneurial group, but very kind of serious group of businessy people, and then the staff in the office today, and then you guys. And in all of that, it seemed like the right time to talk, and there's the piece, a little bit on some of the history of Mozilla and my personal history, but also like where I think we are in the space of the internet and the space of Mozilla and where we have to go in the future. So it's a very informal talk. If it's boring, then you can Friday night you can go have a beer, walk out, and I won't be insulted. Just before I start, though, I need to take a very quick survey. So this is kind of interactive and in kind of small user interface complexity. So if you think about like how much you know about the history of Mozilla, and this is 10, and this is 0, if I can just get a sense of that spectrum, where do you think you are in your knowledge of the history of Mozilla?
就是如果你知道Mozilla，
This is very low. Okay, that's it.
如果你知道Mozilla很多Mozilla的历史，你就举很高；如果你完全不知道Mozilla的历史，那就放很低。那大家就是表现一下你知道Mozilla多少。
只知道 Firefox
Okay, then that's right.
Okay, perfect. So
Yeah.
that gives me some of the. I'll get into. Hopefully by the end, people have a bit closer to this.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not like this. But first, I'm going to start the personal history. I don't know if you recognize this guy. He's much younger and skinnier. Wow. I think he was maybe 30 pounds lighter. But that was me when I was 18 or 19. And actually, I didn't notice this morning, but that's the name of the first nonprofit that I started. That I was wearing the T-shirt. So always I was loving organizations with T-shirts. And that was an anti-nuclear or nuclear disarmament group that I started. And the time that I was a teenager was kind of a different time. So what was going on? It was the height of the Cold War between the U.S. and the Russians. Huge amount of money going into nuclear weapons. Very much like when I was in high school, and I'm so glad there's people here in high school because that's about the same age when I started that group. Was when I was probably 17.
Wow.
And, it was a time, like in some ways still today, but a time where everybody was really afraid of this thing. And it felt like some very powerful people were using their position of power just to take humanity in the wrong direction. And, it's not to say that things are perfect now. I mean, it still is a dangerous time, but really felt very present and dangerous, even that it would be on the cover of Time magazine. And so, what I did was I got involved in the peace movement at that time. And you saw in Russia, but especially in the West, a huge peace movement saying, we have to stop this in the mid-'80s. Yeah, thank you. And so, it kind of, in some senses, felt like a silly thing. I mean, it was a very fearful time, but how are you going to stop these governments from doing whatever they want to do? They have so much money and so much power. And almost feels like impossible that any change can come. And it feels like for the next 100 years or 200 years, you're always going to have Russia and America fighting it. It's never going to be any different. Or we're going to all die, one or the other. But, something did happen, which is the Berlin Wall, not that long after that, by the time I was just in the beginning of university, comes down. And it's not to say that I or even the peace movement was like the direct cause of that. But I think actually you did, especially if you see how the peace movement moved into the East and into the Eastern Bloc and Russia. It was partly a citizen movement that did make that change and put cracks in how that system worked. And it doesn't mean